Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Blair from Dayan Elementary School from Taichung. And today I'm going to share still the three parts of my action research. First of all, I would like to talk about some teaching effective applied in my classroom, about some teaching strategies, about multicultural education. Why do you think it's really important to teach my students multicultural education in nowadays? Why? Why is it so important? Simply because when we know our own culture, then we can show our basic respect to other cultures. So I use a lot of different techniques and props like videos, picture books to talk about when we see the different cultures. You don't have to be like, I need to change the world. As an elementary school student, you have to do is like, we need to show the respect at the very beginning. So this is kind of like the seeds that we put into students' mind that we need to, this is what we have to do for our society. So I talk about how we greet each other around the world. So when we learn the greeting from more cultures, and I share this part with my students. The third grade students was, why we touch the noses from also the front head together. But students didn't know that's their traditions and the way they greet each other. So as a teacher, we can teach them, this is how they greet each other in their own culture. So next time when you see the differences, you don't have to laugh, you don't have to be proud of any culture, you don't have to do anything, you need to show your respect, that's it. And another point I would like to share is the before and after evaluation. I used to give my students only the scores for A+, or B+, or F, or fail. However, after I attend this program, I do some before and after evaluation. Simply because this can fit in the students who fell behind the class. For this, the first part, this kid can only write the 26 alphabets, but he still cannot write that perfectly and correctly in the order. And this kind of evaluation can also offer students the way they can change and to what degree they can improve in their following learning. So this is also another way for me to evaluate the gifted student. And it's also for my action result later. So the next part I would like to share is the positive feedback I learned from this program. I used to give them the smiling face or some stamps on my workbook. However, I tried to do some writing few sentences after they've done good job on their assignment, and they also participate in class, and also the oral test. So what I do here can invite students and parents to think more what exactly your kids behave in my class, or what exactly their problem they need to be fixed, or they to be more practice for their future learning. And for this part, I also gain some warm and friendly feedback from parents and students as well. However, people are not perfect, and you don't have to be perfect for that you act and you want everyone to like you. So still some parents will say, oh teacher, you should use communication book to write down my child's everyday English class behavior. But I want to confess, we don't have the time to do that for every kid. Okay, now we're going to talk about my personal action research. For my topic is I do the case study for this sixth grade kid. Is gifted this year. What I faced the problem is last year I also have the situation like this. I was assigned to be in charge of the individual guidance program in elementary school, and my students only one. And last year I do the program and projects that he likes to do. That we do a movie appreciation and the field trip, go to the science museum, and so on. However, I just come up with this is not systematically to teach, and I do not have the formal portfolio for my student to present what exactly that he learned and get from my classes. Therefore, after I took part in the program, I designed the complex thinking cultivation. So for these few thinking strategies are really useful for higher level students. So teachers can use these strategy to revise into your regular classes as well. First of all is what if. So what if is the way that we think about the situation haven't happened in our daily life now so far. So I asked him what kind of the situation will happen. So the student need to force himself to think about what will happen. So it's kind of like the way that we force students to think, even though in our own ability we haven't the chance to get on that situation. Another way is to reverse. So most of the time we will ask students to name, like, please name 3 things about Taiwan as a culture symbols. However, we use this strategy, the reverse, like, please list out 5 things you will never see in Taiwan, and so on. So this kind of the way we will force students to think about another, this is a higher level complex thinking. So by doing so, students can push themselves and we will have more discussion after we think about this topic. And at the meantime, we also use the picture books to learn the cultures around the world. So here's the short video clip about
what's your
real
cultural
situation I
identity?
teach him.
You will share with many people who has the same share as your culture.
We are talking about the cultural diversity. So as you can see, I do not use the whole English in the class. You can tell the student's facial expression at the very beginning of the class, he's really afraid of speaking English. So I would like to reduce his stress on speaking English in front of me. So gradually, by the end of this class, he is okay to open his mouth to speak English in front of
What's our traditional dressing? Clothes. For example, like Japan, in Japan, there will be like.
However, he has a strong background knowledge to link his cultural knowledge to his learning content.
我们有不同的民族，像客家有什么蓝衫，对不对？还有原住民的服饰 of regional people in Taiwan。OK， 好。So 刚刚讲到为什么你会认为不知道？因为台湾以前有受到很多人的
泰国
Yes，so we got a Japan 原住民 of regional Taiwanese， 荷兰 Dutch Chinese 中国，还有 what else？ 客家人哈，
西班牙
Yes， 西班牙殖民，
它只有在北部。
对。
So you can tell that
好，
he's
那我
have
们
the
接下来
rich
看的
background knowledge.
diversity， 这个就叫多元。Race 叫做种族，不同种族的人会造成像台湾有很多不同民族的人。那为什么会造成 diversity？ 有可能是
He feels
migration
really comfortable in my class.
现在有没有第一名 ？Think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
台湾新营
Yes.
So he can point out the few terms, but not in
他
English.
们来自哪里 ？Good. South Asia. 东南亚。For example， 哪一些国家 ？Indonesia. 印度叫
India
泰国叫
Thailand
菲律宾叫 Philippines。
So most of the time I will say the Chinese and guide him to say the
越南
Vietnam. Excellent.
answer in
所以这
English.
些国家的人民来台湾干。
Okay. So based on these 2 pictures, we can tell what parts impressed him a lot. Apparently, it's field trip. I also took him to make his own sun cake and bubble tea as an outdoor activities. So this is the way that we can tell learning by doing exactly. So another picture is I forced him to do the 1-minute presentation by the end of a class. So I would like to say this is quite interesting that we do a lot of change, like before and after evaluation and different various outdoor activities, and also students need to share what he has learned by the end of the program. And after this 20-period program, I interviewed him and his parents and also one fellow teachers. The students point out that he strongly suggests me to keep the field trip part. And he mentioned one key point for me to reflect on myself is that he said, "Teacher Blair, I wish I have no homework, that would be great." So most of the time we will put too much expectation on the high level students, but we need to remember that he is also 6th grade and he has only 24 years, a day. So when we put too much paperwork on him, there will be another side effect. So this is a good reason for me to think about what I can revise for the next semester. And then I'm going to share is the inspirations from this program this summer. First of all, I would like to share some teaching strategies and then I will talk about the cultural connection. First of all, after I took part in this program, I learned the special one is I learned the learning intention and success criteria. Before I didn't, at the very beginning of my class, I did not talk about what we are going to do in the class and how students can reach their learning goal for different aspects. So I found that by doing so, students can clearly know that what they are going to learn in my class. Even though in 40 minutes, students have the big concept what we are going to do. So that's really efficient and effective for a teacher to do so. Another one I would like to talk about is the student-centered activities. I decided many different kind of activities for students to learn, to experience, to learn the language. Take this picture for an example. Let me ask you a question, John. How will you teach the space between two words? Okay, thank you, John. John said that he will use the finger to point out the space between two words. That's very clever because that's really efficient for the teacher to do so. However, I think about what if I was a student, what if I want to learn in my own way. I just come out this popsicle stick. That would be really interesting if I use this stick to point out the space between two words. And you also find out it's really efficient. And most of the kids learn the concept of that the space between two words in a sentence. And the next part I would like to share is after I took part in this program, I share some learnings and cultures with my fellow teachers, and I also do some holidays events at school. For my personally enrichment is that I really love painting, so I combine my hobbies, painting, into my teaching. So I made this flyer for my 3rd grade students to do the challenge. They need to fold it into one pieces. Okay, and that's it, my reference. If you want to learn more about design about gifted students curriculum, you can take a look. And please feel free to ask me about any questions through emails. Thank you again. Bye.